Wholeness and Balance Vibrations family, and thank you for tuning in. It is another time for us to get together. This is a connoisseur's tutorial about tree resins. And wow, this was a long time coming. I actually been wanting to get on YouTube and set the record straight about how to really burn these resins and how to get the optimal result that you're actually looking for. I know people who've wanted to dive into this and they always say, hey man, it didn't smell like yours smelled, or I couldn't get it to go off right. And that's because there is some technique to this, and there's also some products that you need to make sure that you have so that it's just the product's not messing up your beautiful burn. So here's the reality of this also. You can sculpt your environment around you by taking control of what is being smelled in the air. You can inspire people. You can cause a feeling of sensual connection. You can do many things, and this is another level of that power. So there's also two different kinds of smoke. There is obviously when you're burning from a diffuser, and then there's obviously when you're using a coal. And if you can mix those two together, you even get something even more amazing. So definitely explore that. But today we're just going to talk about using these coal-fired burners to actually create these beautiful scents and burn them properly. Now, first and foremost, you're going to need something to burn them in. And in this case, I actually have a very high quality incense burner that I grabbed off of Amazon. Nice stuff. And then I also have one that's a bit more cheaper. Actually, it came initially in, it was just that piece on the bottom, and then all of a sudden I got fused in there by some more essence oils. But what I'm also saying is you can have something very basic. And you can also have a rock, like sometimes when I'm going to hotels or something like that, I'm not going to carry all these incense burners and things with me, but I do want to clear the space at times, so I'll get just a big rock and I'll put my coal on there, and that works good enough because the rocks definitely can handle the heat. Now, just a few things. Let me grab something that you're also going to need from time to time as you begin to curate your own scents. And this is obviously a pestle and mortar, and that is to grind some of the larger pieces at times. If you buy some resins that are a bit larger, you may have to grind them down. I always find that they always sell the resins in very large packs. If you keep seeing me look up here from the cameras up here, it's like, ah! But they sometimes sell you these resins in larger packs, so you can buy them in larger packs, or sometimes they're actually just large within themselves, like chunks. And you need to break them down, because you'll find you'll get a better burn when you break it down into something that's a little bit more powdery like this. And so to do that, you'll have to spend some time in actually just grinding that down. And as you can see in there, I'll take like just a couple hours or an hour, and I'll start grinding something down. It's just as easy as, let's see, what do we got? Some pine resin over here. So it's just easy as adding this resin, because it is still a bit big for the burn, and then just grinding that down. Obviously, some resins are much more harder than others, but as you can see with that pine resin, it broke down to a nice resin crystal, and it's ready to go. We lost one of our lights there, so I'm going to keep going with this and trust that this is enough light to keep going. Let this thing adjust real fast, maybe a bit more cooler. So the reality is now, here's some big keys. So you have your burner. Again, this is big boy burner. He's nice. The smoke comes out. This is a brand new one, because I had one just like this, and somebody handed me something and it dropped and it broke off the top. And then something else happened and it broke off the bottom, and I liked it so much I decided I'd get another one. And so this is the next one. So what I'm going to do is because I noticed when I was burning resins inside of this, it became fused in there by itself. And so I'm just going to add what is the magic secret at this stage is the aluminum foil inside of here. And that's just because I want to keep this clean for further use and some other stuff that I want to do. So I'm putting a piece of aluminum foil here. Okay. Now, in this whole process, aluminum foil is actually your friend, because in the deep acts of burning these essence and resins in Japan, they actually use metal plate that's known as mica, because many of these oils should not be burned, or many of these resins should not be burned at high temperatures. Now, this mica is very similar to what actually is inside of a microwave that keeps certain areas from getting certain levels of heat. And the interesting thing about mica that's unfortunate is that it's very expensive. So I had to try and see if I could find a substitute. I heard somebody mention, aluminum foil works just as well. I tried it myself. Voila, it works. So What I've done is I've already cut some squares of aluminum foil, so I have that here. Also, what I would recommend is I would recommend Starlight. The Starlight coals, because there's a lot of coals out there, but some of those coals, they just don't have the juice, and that is vital. Making sure that you're actually getting a very good coal that evenly heats across the top is the biggest thing, okay? So I'm taking you step by step through this. You can't omit any of the steps. Also, I have some Starlight in here, and I've actually placed it inside of this Ziploc bag. And this is because if you're in a humid environment, which I am right now, or you just leave the Starlights out and open like this, then they'll stop having the ability to just fire off by themselves. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a moment as far as how they fire off. But again, make sure that you actually get these in a Ziploc bag if you're not going to, not rip down this package and, keep it tightened. So just, be conservative on letting it get exposed to the air. So now we're going to go ahead and fire this off, because now you see what I've done is I've just set it up as it is. It's not very complex, but you can't actually miss any of these steps. And so here I am with a real torch. Notice how I got something that's pushing out a lot of flame. This is quite a bit. I could afford to turn this down a little bit. And the reason for that is that if you come in with one of those little bitty lighters, the basic Bic lighters, true enough, it may fire off this coal and get it going like this. But especially if you're not going to sit this under some wind so that it heats evenly, you may want to have a lighter to go back in on it again to make sure that it gets evenly covered with fire, and or flame, or that it's heated. You're going to see that here in just a moment. The main thing also is not to just go right in and dumping in stuff right on top of this, for multiple reasons, which I'm going to show you. But the most important thing about this, and especially in being the connoisseur, is you got to be patient. And you're waiting. Now it's done completely firing up. So that's what the first thing that you're waiting on. Just wait for it. Meaning literally, don't go right into adding the resins. Don't go right into doing anything, but just waiting on this coal to show you where it's lit. So you can blow it a little bit. And right away, you can see how this coal, while being completely lit, is only actually firing in this area, okay? Now you can actually keep blowing this until it spreads across. It pops and things like that too. And sometimes I do that. It's that important. But you can also take the lighter and you can go at it again, especially if you got one of these lighters that really are, got the torch and the flame to them. So this is why you don't want to use that cheap lighter that doesn't have this jet way of doing things. So blow it again. And now we're almost ready. So now you can see the point here is that now the coal is completely lit. And this is now where you want to go on with the juice, because this is how you go from having this smokestack that stinks to something that you keep mixing and blending, and not only do your resins last longer, your scents last longer, and you're able to get the complete essence of that smell. And again, this is for you to clear the space, be able to dial in your own frequency, and really get, just your vibe going on wherever you are. So here we go. And of course, get these allies in there. So we go in like that. I even push this down a little bit sometimes really quick. This thing is super hot, so you don't want to play with this at all. But I push it in there because I like to get like a cup going on for what I'm about to do next. Now this is hot right away, obviously. Aluminum is very thin. The great thing about aluminum is it doesn't, once you pull it off of this, it cools down really fast, but it is hot enough to really burn you. So don't think just because it's aluminum you can play with it and pull it all off. Speaking from experience. So in this case, we're going to grab some of this oil now. Obviously, I think this could be some frankincense. This could be anything. I got a lot of goodies in here. I need to get a little bit more organized with the goodies. But the reality here is that now I have this resin and I'm ready to apply it. And what I'm going to do, and I like having these vials. I bought these off of eBay. I bought like 100 vials. That's why I didn't source it, because he wants to buy about 100 of these. But I bought 100 of these vials, and I have them for, you know, multiple uses. But I like it because it allows me to pour this really easy. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this out. I already see a big one coming out, so that's fine. But notice how, that's quite a bit. Anyway, we'll keep going with it. And it's just because you don't actually need this much. You can even afford to take this one off. And you got to be careful with that, though, because if this thing gets hot and starts melting and you touch it with your finger, from experience. So, as you can see, this oil is now beginning to burn. But notice how it doesn't immediately. Now, if this was touching the fire, it immediately would just go up in smoke. And it would smell good for a second, and then you would start smelling carbon. And this not only prevents you from mixing it with other things, because you just really want it to go out so you can get that initial smell again. You know, it also burns again the incense so fast that it makes you have to come and refresh the incense. This more creates like a bowl. Let me get another tool here. And this is another thing. Let me just take a quick moment. I also sourced some tools that are your common tools that are used in dealing with resins and oils. Some people know these as dab tools now. And what these tools will help you do is just to get out anything that is gummy-like. In this case, this is LME. It's an amazing composition. It's like resin that comes off of flowers. And then you get it in this gooey, sticky. And then if you apply that, you can kind of lay that on there, and you'll notice that's melting. It's cooking in. And again, the smell is amazing. All right, so that's it. And then you can even take something like your ouds, your agars, and you can actually add a little bit, because anybody knows about the oud knows that it's extremely rare and even getting a bit more expensive. But you don't need that much. So I'm going to take a little piece of oud here. That's as much as I'm going to take, and I'm going to add that in. And what that's going to do is that's going to get in there with a resin, and it's going to make a nice soup of very powerful essence. And unfortunately, because this is a video, you can't smell this. But this is as much as it takes to actually get a very, very, very dialed in session. Now, I've left some links to all my favorite oils, or excuse me, my favorite resins. You're calling them oils, they want to be oils. Maybe we'll do one on oils next. Always remember, actually, you can add the oils to the diffuser, and you can get these going side by side. It's an amazing combination because this one's dry and the other one's wet. So it brings in both of those forces. Again, this is very efficient when you just have a rock. You don't need one of these fancy holders. You can grab a rock and put the coal on there. Use your aluminum foil. You got plenty of that, and you're on your way. You can start off with something simple like frankincense. Some of my favorites are tolu, also mastic gum. The frankincenses, especially the ones from Oman. So that's something to get you started. And again, I put some of my extras in there too in the description. So wholeness and balance vibration. We've got opportunity to again set it straight about how you really dial into these resins and how you can get the results that you're looking for. See you soon.